She was in the witness box today because the lawyer for one of the defendants, Mike Roman, who worked for the Trump campaign, accused Willis of benefiting from prosecuting the defendant because of her personal relationship with Nathan Wade, the special prosecutor in the Trump case. Willis angrily pushed back on what she called personal attacks on her and Wade.
You've been intrusive into people's personal lives. You're confused. You think I'm on trial. These people are on trial for trying to steal an election in 2020. I'm not on trial, no matter how hard you try to put me on trial.
Lawyers for Roman and the other defendants pushing to disqualify Willis and Wade basically claimed that Willis personally benefited from hiring Wade because she would financially benefit from his employment as his romantic partner. Why does that matter? Because it's key in determining if there was a conflict of interest. The day started with testimony from a disgruntled former employee, Robin Yurty, who was let go from the prosecutor's office. She testified that Willis's romantic relationship with Wade began before he was hired for the prosecution of Trump. Willis, who wasn't supposed to testify, walked into the courtroom. It was clear she was angered by the accusations, and she wanted to set the record straight.
Nobody gives me anything. I am sure that the source of the money is always the work, sweat, and tears of me.
You do not know where that money came from?
I do know where it came from. It came from my sweat and tears.
And to make a finer point, when under questioning by Trump's lawyer, she made it crystal clear why she didn't need Mr. Wade for financial benefit.
It's interesting that we're here about this money. Mr. Wade is used to women that, as he told me one time, the only thing a woman can do for him is make him a sandwich. We would have brutal arguments about the fact that I am your equal. I don't need anything from a man. A man is not a plan. A man is a companion. I don't need anybody to foot my bills. The only man who's ever foot my bills completely is my daddy.
Well, all righty then. Judge McAfee will now have to determine if both Willis and Wade had a financial interest in the case. It is unclear where this will end, but earlier this week, he said it was possible that the facts alleged could merit disqualification. Now, here's why all this matters. If Fani Willis is disqualified, her entire Fulton County DA's office would be removed, and then a state prosecutor's council would have to appoint a special prosecutor, which means, drum roll, yet another delay. Willis has already been disqualified by a separate judge when it comes to another defendant, Georgia Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, who was a fake Trump elector because she hosted a fundraiser for the Democrat who lost to Jones in the 2022 election. That Jones probe still does not have a new prosecutor 18 months later. Not at issue, the accusations that Trump and others tried to overturn the election. Willis will be back on the stand tomorrow. And joining me now is Katie Phang, trial attorney and host of The Katie Phang Show on MSNBC. She is at the courthouse in Atlanta, the site of today's explosive testimony. Former federal prosecutor Paul Butler, law professor at Georgetown University and an MSNBC legal analyst. And Aaron Haynes, editor-in-large of the 19th and an MSNBC contributor. Katie, I will start with you. Those fireworks today were riveting to watch. Legally, what was the import?
Well, legally, what came out today was evidence. And before today, all that was going on, Joy, was innuendo, gossip, and very cruel and nasty, salacious rumors about Fani Willis and Nathan Wade. And today was put up or shut up time for the defense. The defense has the burden in this case to be able to prove that there was some type of personal financial benefit that has been derived by Fani Willis that would compromise this case. The defense also has to prove that this relationship predated when Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade was appointed to his role. But the only thing that we heard today that might even come close to helping the defense was from a former employee of the Fulton County DA's office, Robin Yurty, also a former acquaintance and friend of Fani Willis. She testified first this morning after some legal wrangling about who was going to be called first. And she said that she believed that the personal relationship between Wade and Willis began as early as October of 2019. However, she conveniently left out, Joy, when she was initially called to testify, that she was given the option of either resigning or being fired from her job at the Fulton County DA's office, and that since she had basically resigned in 2022, she had not had any contact whatsoever with Fani Willis. But it really took Fani Willis to do the job today. We know now why a lot of defense attorneys say to go toe-to-toe with Fani Willis is a dangerous proposition for their clients. Because Fani Willis had to come in and basically say, like you played for that clip for the viewers, that she doesn't need a man to pay her bills or to give her money. She also doesn't need a man in the form of Nathan Wade to do her defense. She took the stand, waiving any objections to the subpoena that was served upon her to testify in this motion to disqualify in order to clear her name. And straight out of the gate, Joy, she made clear that the evidence would show that she was corroborating what Nathan Wade said under sworn testimony earlier, that she and Nathan Wade did not begin a personal relationship until after he had been appointed special prosecutor. Also importantly, that she pays her own way, that she has given cash to Nathan Wade to reimburse him for any type of personal trips that they have taken. So under Georgia law, Joy, quickly, you have to have an actual conflict of interest. It cannot be speculative or theoretical. And at this point, the defense has not carried its burden to prove through uncontroverted testimony or evidence that there is any conflict of interest at all.
Yeah, I think what they did prove today is that Fani Willis ain't nothing to play with. And I think Donald Trump's people should be shaking in their boots knowing they're going to have to face that on the other side of their cases. Let me play another piece of that to the point that you just made. And then I have a question for Paul. This is on whether or not she told her team about her personal relationship with Nathan Wade. Take a listen.
Is there anyone else who knew about it? And then you can explain.
I don't know. I don't think so. I certainly didn't go out telling my business to the world.
Okay, so the best of your recollection, you didn't inform anyone on the prosecution team that the individual that you had chosen to lead the prosecution team had a personal relationship with you. So is that correct?
That's inaccurate. Your question is inaccurate. Because of the way you phrased the question, you said, when I chose him, I didn't inform people of a personal relationship. We have defined personal as romantic. It is an inaccurate way to state the question.
And she did that throughout. And I'm old, and I'm going to age myself. I'm old enough, Paul, to remember the O.J. Simpson case. And anybody who remembers that will know that later on, Christopher Darden, the African-American prosecutor, if you'll remember him, and there's the other lady you see, Marsha Clark, in that photo, were having a personal relationship of a romantic nature during the time they were prosecuting O.J. Simpson. I highly doubt, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that O.J. Simpson would have had a cause of action to say throw this case out because the two of them were sleeping together. And so my question is, so what? If after he became a prosecutor on the case, they developed a personal relationship, so what?
So what indeed, Joy, because I'm even older than you. I remember that case well, and I worked as a prosecutor in 2 different offices. In both of those offices, like in many other workplaces, there were romantic relationships, stuff.
We're going to hope that, the internet has stolen Paul Butler. The internet has stolen Paul. We're going to fix Paul Butler's audio. We're going to get back to him. But that's the so what of it. There's another piece of this, Aaron, and it was, to me, the attitude of the people questioning Fani Willis toward her and her response to it. Let me play this clip of Fani Willis speaking to the lawyers questioning her about what they're not going to do.
You don't have to yell at me. I'm able to understand. So I would ask you to not yell at me. And please do not yell at me.
Aaron, let's talk about Fani Willis as a witness and Fani Willis as a prosecutor, because to me, that tells me she's nothing to play with.
Yeah, I mean, Joy, I think watching this, you could see, Fani Willis was, if standing on business was a witness. That was what we saw today. And what we also saw today, frankly, was a clinic in Black womanhood, and particularly high-profile Black womanhood, right? If you're a Black woman in this country, you don't have to be a district attorney prosecuting the former president of the United States to really understand what it means to have your integrity or your professionalism questioned, or the urge to defend your character or reputation, right? And so that's what you really saw on display today. Yes, she was angry, but she was also insulted. She was offended. If somebody thinks that they're being lied on, and especially Fani Willis, prepare to defend yourself, because that was exactly what she came to that stand prepared to do today of her own free will.
Well, and the thing is, Katie, you as a woman of color who have to stand in a courtroom, you know this all too well. Yeah, look, I have a book about this, about the way they did this with Myrlie Evers-Williams. Be pretty, but not too pretty. Be, forceful, but not too forceful. Don't be loud. Don't be angry. Excuse me, if you're questioning my integrity and accusing me of hiring somebody that I was having an affair with when I'm telling you the timeline and then asking, did my kids live at my house? You want to know how much money I have? Is he giving me cash? She was insulted, and rightfully so. This idea that women of color have to sit there and be demure and take it. There were people on social media who were saying, oh, she's coming in too hot. No, she wasn't. She was offended, and she had a right to be offended.
Yeah, so, there is something to be said about decorum and professionalism, but you didn't hear anything that wasn't decorum and professionalism from Fani Willis. I'm glad that you bring up this example of being a woman of color, especially in a courtroom. There are more women that are in law school today than there ever were when I was in law school. But the problem is, when it comes to women of color, we're so sorely underrepresented when it comes to court, especially, Joy, when it comes to trials, when it comes to trial lawyers. And so for a woman to have to defend the fact that she makes her own money, the fact that her daddy told her to make sure that she had some money stashed away. My mom told me the same damn thing. Make sure that you have money stashed away to take care of yourself, because you shouldn't count on someone else. Right, Aaron? And that's the thing. Why should anybody have to defend us? But under the law, unfortunately, because the other side made these representations that met this threshold, that forced this evidentiary hearing to have to come to pass, that is the reason why Fani Willis and Nathan Wade got dragged into court. But I will remind our viewers, too, Joy, under Georgia law, you do not disqualify a prosecutor simply because there is a personal relationship. In fact, in this case, you have lawyers on the defense side that are married to each other. You have lawyers on the defense side that are dating each other. And yet nobody has made a big stink about that. It is only the defense making a big stink about that for Fani Willis. The important thing that everybody has to remember, what Fani Willis said today, is this. She's not on trial. It's the people that tried to steal an election, the state of Georgia, that are on trial. This is a sad, sorry sideshow that needs to end.